Some fans saw this coming for years, while others were left open-mouthed when the news broke. Red Bull made a swift, almost ruthless driver swap just 2 races into the new season, an unprecedented move that stoked controversy across the Formula One world. People are wondering what's really happening behind closed doors and whether this abrupt change signifies a deeper crisis at the heart of a once dominant team. Could it even hint at the potential exit of their biggest star, Max Verstappen? There's far more at stake than just driver points or podium finishes, and by the end of this story, you might see Red Bull in a whole new light. Max Verstappen's dissatisfaction is no longer a secret. He's publicly defended Liam Lawson, pointing out that this Red Bull car is notoriously tricky to handle. He's also hinted that snap judgments from the team don't address the underlying engineering problems. For Verstappen, who thrives on precision, this entire situation must be frustrating. The team is placing enormous weight on his shoulders, expecting him to magic his way to podiums while they scramble behind the scenes to patch the car's weaknesses. This dynamic echoes a famous pattern from the Michael Schumacher era. When a driver is talented enough to drag a flawed car to top finishes, it masks the real problems. Engineers may conclude everything's fine if the star driver keeps winning. Meanwhile, other drivers look incompetent in the same machinery and end up taking the blame. It's a cycle that can stifle proper development, because if the top driver can handle it, the urgency to fix fundamental design flaws wanes. Sources close to Verstappen say he's been spending more time in the simulator, providing detailed feedback on the car's shortfalls. But ironically, that might be part of the issue. His high skill level can camouflage the kind of design failings that would doom anyone else. If Red Bull can't sort out these ingrained flaws soon, they risk alienating their star driver. And given what's on the horizon, losing Verstappen would be catastrophic for a team that once pinned its entire future on him. Just days after the checkered flag waved at the last Grand Prix, Red Bull announced the sudden swap between Liam Lawson and Yuki Tsunoda for the upcoming Japanese race. While Tsunoda originally appeared to have missed his chance to rise into Red Bull's top lineup, the team flipped the script in a heartbeat. Fans and experts alike were stunned. Why upend your driver roster mere weeks into a season? It's not as if Lawson had been given time to settle in, let alone adapt his driving style to a finicky car. This move jolted the paddock because it seemed to ignore the bigger question. Is the real issue the driver or the RB21 itself? Yet to anyone following Red Bull's recent history, maybe this shouldn't be so surprising. They've been known to play musical chairs with their lineup before. From Pierre Gasly's mid-season demotion to Alex Albon's rushed promotion, to the short leash given to Nick de Vries, the team has a reputation for making abrupt calls, each time they claim it's in pursuit of ultimate performance. But this time around, many question if they're just masking deeper flaws that lie beneath the surface. Flashback to the mid-2010s, Red Bull seemed to have a system that worked: discover young talent, mould them in their junior teams, then promote them to the main squad when the time was right. That's how the sport got a young Sebastian Vettel, then later a teenage Max Verstappen. It was a pipeline that seemed unstoppable. But once Verstappen arrived, everything changed. The results soared, expectations skyrocketed, and the margin for error dwindled to almost nothing. Suddenly, any driver who couldn't match Verstappen's extraordinary pace found themselves on shaky ground. Pierre Gasly was dropped in the middle of a season, replaced by Alex Albon, who also struggled to keep up. Albon was then reassigned when his performance dipped below Red Bull's high bar. Sergio Perez got a contract extension surprisingly early, only for the car's quirks to trip him up later. Then Nick de Vries was cast aside halfway through his debut year, and many felt he never truly got a fair shot. It's a cycle that repeats. Where does that leave Yuki Tsunoda? Some argue he was always the next logical candidate for a Red Bull seat. Why insert Lawson into that position in the first place if they'd just revert to Tsunoda anyway? Loyal fans suggest that Tsunoda deserved his promotion from the start, given his pace and familiarity with the Red Bull sister team. But that begs the question: was the initial choice to go with Lawson a hasty call? And if so, are they chasing short-term fixes at the expense of long-term stability? Beneath all these driver swaps lies a more pressing concern. The RB21 isn't performing as Red Bull had hoped. It's said to be unstable at high speeds and difficult to handle under heavy braking, even for a master driver like Max Verstappen. Sergio Perez once voiced worries about the car's balance, only to be ignored, until Verstappen began echoing those concerns himself. When the team's top star started complaining, the issue became impossible to brush off. Engineers rushed to apply quick solutions, but nothing seemed to fully click. Christian Horner, Red Bull's principal, acknowledges there's a lot of work to be done. He even stated that Tsunoda's feedback could be invaluable, as Yuki has driven various iterations of the car and might pinpoint flaws more quickly. But critics argue this is more of the same approach: shuffle the drivers, gather data, and hope the bigger issues resolve themselves. With each passing race, fans see a downward spiral that no seat swap can truly fix. There's a ticking clock in Formula One. Major regulation changes in 2026 promise to rewrite the rulebook, impacting aerodynamics, power units, and more. Red Bull's partnership with Ford was supposed to be an exciting collaboration, offering fresh resources and new technical insights. But any potential advantage hinges on Red Bull stabilizing their engineering department. As rumours swirl about key staff losses, some doubt whether the team can make the most of this partnership. For Verstappen, 2026 represents a crossroads. He's achieved multiple championships, broken records, and carved his name into F1 folklore. The question is, does he want to stick around at Red Bull if the upcoming Ford-powered car can't deliver? If the current instability is any indicator, he might be scanning the horizon for better prospects. Fans know he's fiercely loyal to teams that share his relentless pursuit of wins, but that loyalty has limits when the car can't keep pace. Despite having a contract, Verstappen isn't shy about exploring his options if conditions sour at Red Bull. The possibility of him moving to Mercedes has hovered over the sport for years. Toto Wolff, Mercedes' team boss, once admitted to courting Verstappen, viewing him as the ultimate prize for any constructor. As soon as Lewis Hamilton left for Ferrari, speculation ran wild. Would Wolff finally convince Verstappen to jump ship? At the time, the idea seemed far-fetched. Verstappen was on top of the world at Red Bull, collecting trophies with ease. Now the dynamic has shifted. Red Bull is struggling, and the once seemingly invincible partnership with Verstappen shows cracks. Meanwhile, George Russell's contract is winding down, and many believe Mercedes has the resources and the hunger to reclaim the throne. If they can combine a star driver with a stable and efficient car, it could spell a new era of dominance. Fans are divided on whether Verstappen would thrive at Mercedes. Some say his driving style complements an aggressive, front-loaded car, a concept Mercedes often perfects. Others argue that his best chance to keep rewriting the record books is to stay put and push Red Bull to fix their issues. But with the 2026 regs looming, the biggest question is whether Mercedes will offer the kind of engineering excellence that reassures Verstappen he's making the right choice. If they do, Horner and Red Bull may not be able to offer enough to keep him. So, is there a path forward for Red Bull that doesn't involve losing their ace driver and collapsing under the weight of technical failures? Many believe so, but it requires a drastic change of direction. First, they must acknowledge that frequent driver swaps won't solve fundamental car problems. Stability in the lineup can foster better data collection and consistent development. If Yuki Tsunoda really is the best fit right now, then the team must give him room to grow and adapt. Second, Red Bull must address the RB21's core design flaws. This means thorough real-world testing and simulation to rectify issues with balance, unpredictability, and corner stability. While Verstappen's ability can keep the car near the front of the grid, relying on a superstar to overcome glaring weaknesses is short-sighted. If they don't want a repeat of this year's fiasco in 2025 or 2026, they need to fix the foundation now. Third, forging a stronger partnership with Ford for the new regulations is essential. That implies robust communication, a clear development roadmap, and a willingness to pivot quickly if certain design concepts fall flat. Red Bull can't afford to cling to failing ideas, especially when their star is watching every move, ready to weigh his future options. If they manage to transform this partnership into a cutting-edge advantage, it might just keep Verstappen in their camp. Finally, they must ensure their top engineers feel valued and challenged, so they stay on board. Poaching season in F1 is fierce. If Red Bull can't offer an environment conducive to innovation and success, they risk a brain drain that will leave them underprepared for 2026. That's a tall order, but if they manage to pull it off, they stand a chance at retaining their top-tier status and keeping Verstappen in the driver's seat.